you so much for joining us. It is definitely an honor to have you on the show.
Okay, I sent Mike a call. He's going to send a Zoom link, but we're good now, right?
We're good.
Right.
Good, but thank you so much, man, for joining us again. It is an honor to have you on the show, and congratulations congratulations on a wonderful new album, Speed of Heat. And I got to ask you, man, you got to start making some more albums like that. We're missing a lot of soul in the industry right now.
Well, I appreciate it. It only took me 13 years, so hopefully we can speed things up.
One of the things that I've always loved and admired about you, you've always been very outspoken, which I appreciate. And I want to get your thoughts. I wanted to get your thoughts on how music has been somewhat, I don't want to say somewhat, it's been completely commercialized and taking the pure essence of musicianship from the industry. And I wanted your thoughts on that.
Well, I have a conference actually coming up in Washington, D.C. at the Potomac Institute for Policy Study on what's happened with Chat CPT, because there's already there are already a number of compositions that are pretty good that have just been, sort of pulled out of the ether based on artificial intelligence. The real question is going to be, are the movie and TV houses going to say, which is something that they wanted to do for many years, is to figure out a way to eliminate musicians altogether so they don't have to pay for music. And then the next question is going to be, okay, well, if it starts to get good, then what does that mean? Does it, when it starts to have emotional content, in the same way as I've seen some pretty amazing digital rendering of, human beings that capture a lot of the neuropassive linguistics, which is, I guess, a fancy word for talking about body language and nonverbal communication, that pretty compelling. So I guess the answer to your question is I'm not sure. I'm watching a huge phenomenal, if there's such a word, change in art, which to me is sort of the last bastion of humanity. I'm not sure where this is going. And the question will be, as you say, music has sort of, before all this artificial intelligence, or that whole artificial intelligence, Chat CPT, et cetera, came to the fore, music was already starting to lose a little bit of its art and become, well, I guess when the first iPod came out, it became more fashion. In other words, I'm wearing these sunglasses, I'm wearing these sneakers, and I have this music on my belt. So, I don't know, I think we're getting to a singularity here. I'm not quite sure.
Well, I must say from a personal standpoint, it was very disheartening to me, and I've said this many times, when they started removing the record stores and everything became digital, and it took the pure essence of what music really stood for. It was something unique and special and loving about being able to go to a record store and buy an album, to have that kind of personal interaction with a particular group that you loved. And everything was based upon communication. When I go back to the time and the years that you spent with the Doobie Brothers, it was all about love. It was all about communication and love for one another. There was no color lines. And what I'm seeing now, I see a lot of music being exploited in a very negative way. And it's become very detriment to I see how our country is moving. There's nothing positive that I see or hear from a lot of today's music.
Well, I think your observation is spot on, because the country, I believe, has somewhat devolved from e pluribus unum or e pluribus unum to e pluribus multis. It's split into a number of tribes. And when things like that happen, each tribe then begins to search for and adapt what they believe to be the art of that they believe represents their particular tribe. So music, I think, has become tribal as well. I think that's your point, that
right.
It's now become signage, and an identifier for something else besides what it was before. I mean, I don't use Kindle. I read books because I make notes. And my mom taught me to read when I was very young. And to me, a book is something that you hold forever. You make notes in the margin. You go back. It's something, like you say, it's a personal interaction with the author, artist, whomever you might want to call it. I agree. I'm uncertain as to the outcome of all of this.
It's really scary to take you back just to show you how intently I listened to you. An interview that you gave years ago, you said we have turned into a microwavable society. Everything is quick.
Well, I'm afraid that's true on a lot of levels. But bottom line is, I'm going out on tour like I always did. I'm going to play the crap out of the guitar. I'm going to bring unbelievable players with me. And I think there is still room for artist to listener communication. As a matter of fact, I remember when all this first started happening when music became digital streaming, people thought I was going to be the end of the world. And all of a sudden, all these blues clubs started springing up around the United States. People wanted to go to hear whatever, maybe their roots music in a sense, because the blues certainly is the foundation of much of American music. But they wanted to see and hear and be there and experience. So I'm not completely given up yet.
Okay.
If there is such a thing as an artistic Pandora's box, the myth of Pandora, when Pandora opened the box and all the stuff flew out, the only stuff at the bottom of the box was hope. So I think that there is still that. Because people keep coming to our shows and they like it and they stay. So, okay, well, unless I'm missing something here.
No, I mean, music is a universal language of togetherness. It has been proven time and time again that it has the ability to unite, as you say, tribes, to unite people. There's no color lines when you bring transparency in music. And speaking of blues, one of the tracks on your new album, of course, Speed of Heat, I Can Do Without, featuring Johnny Lang.
Oh, yeah.
My goodness. An incredible track. How did you manage to get Johnny on the track? Because he's pulled the linen for a little while. He just kind of disappeared and went off to an extended vacation. So how did you manage to get him on the album?
Well, Johnny's an old friend anyway. We met many years ago, actually at Sundance Film Festival, when we ended up on stage together. And he had, after we played, we played together for about an hour. It was a lot of fun. And so he said to me, I hear, you're into law enforcement. I said, yeah, I did 15 years LAPD, and, a couple of other things. He said, well, I'm really interested in getting into law enforcement. I said, sure, just tell me where you live. I'll make a call to the sheriff, see what the, situation is. If you want to, you got to go to the academy, you got to do stuff, but if you want to, happy to do it. And then about 3 months later, he really started to get busy again in terms of his art. So